We're Comics Online, and we are here speaking with
Goellner.
How did everything come together? Did you have the idea to do this story? Were you approached with an offer? And then who kind of pairs up writer and artist for these kind of projects?
Turtles, Naruto. I got an email from my editor, Dea at IDW, and I'd actually heard from like a friend, and I just got this text message, I don't know, months before I got this first email. It's like, hey, you like Naruto, right? And it was like a friend in the industry, and I was like, I mean, yeah, like everyone likes Naruto. And he's like, how much of a fan are you, basically? I was like, I read it all. I mean, like what do you mean? Like, he's like, good enough. And that was the end of the thread, and I just like let it be mysterious. And then bam, I get this email like a couple months later. It's like, hey, so we're working on this crossover, and like your friend said that like you might be a good fit because like you've been writing Turtles for several years, and we heard you like Naruto. I was just like, oh, this is what that was. Oh, awesome. Like, if I would have known, I would have been like, I'm the biggest Naruto fan of all time, and I know every character's like full moveset, and like, so it's pretty organic. When these kind of things come along, usually it's like, can you send us some ideas? Do you have like some pitches? Depending on who you are and what the book is, you send like 3-4 ideas, maybe like a paragraph each, and then if they like one of those, you kind of build it out and see where things go from there. But yeah, the deal was done on like the back end from like licensing folks and professionals, and the companies had all kind of agreed that it was something they wanted to do. So from there, you're kind of just trying to give them a bunch of things that they can consider that you think the fans will like, and that you actually want to write. And yeah, we once I met with my editor, I was like, here's kind of where my head's at. Turtles, we know how to do. They're kind of indestructible. They mutate all the time. You don't got to worry about it as long as like you just keep them. It's the Naruto question. And so my biggest concern was not destroying Naruto continuity, because it's like it's got a beginning, middle, and an end. It's like not like some kind of ongoing forever like Superman franchise. And so the editor was actually like, oh, I'm so glad that that's like how you're thinking about it. You really care about like the story, and like especially a couple characters like Sasuke, like where he's at in the narrative. So yeah, we landed on something that just like seemed like fun, and it seemed like something that the partners in Japan would be into, and had a few more meetings after that, just sort of like hey, like we're open to like what you've got in mind, and like we can figure it out. And you had some really positive back and forth, and then you get to write the thing. And it was a great process, like just a lot of like-minded people really care about like everybody on each side of like the Turtles and Naruto, and just trying to make something that would like be super fun to read. And so far, like the response has been so positive that you like almost think the whole thing's a dream. It's like, oh, that was great. Like you write a Marvel book sometimes, like I haven't done that, but like you'll see people getting like death threats because I don't know, like you made Cable wear like the wrong shoes. It's like, come on, like chill out. Turtles fans I already knew were awesome and great. Turns out, like, at least Western Naruto fans, like the folks who've been able to read it over here, also like the greatest. So thanks, y'all. I just told you the whole story of everything that happened, and all you asked was how does it come together.
I appreciate it. You're making my job not only really easy, but also much more enjoyable for everyone who's going to be listening to this. You mentioned the fans. You mentioned that there's. I'm doing table tapping. You mentioned the fans. You mentioned that they already were so excited about this, even going into it. They responded really strongly, and it's like there's obviously this very powerful. I don't know how to describe it. The zeitgeist, yeah. About what everyone wants to see out of this, and you wanted to obviously satisfy everybody. How did you, as a fan of both, who is trying to write a story about a character you love, do something that the fans are going to love, do something that's going to keep multiple other interests happy, who have their own IPs to protect and interests and all of that, and as you mentioned, a wide-ranging time frame with evolutions, plus tonal differences that have come. How did you sort of negotiate pulling all those strings together and making one cohesive thing, collaborating with all these different elements, and an artist who's got their own vision, and how did that come together on that side?
Well, editorial does so much of that heavy lifting, like being the nexus and making sure that like everybody's on the same page and that you're making something and building something cohesive. So people don't give editorial on comics like enough credit a lot of times. It's like it can be a thankless mission. It's like what if Superman was invisible or something? You know what I mean? Like so.
They probably did that in the 70s.
well, definitely. So the way I saw my job, and Hendry, the artist, did so much of the heavy lifting of making it. You can write a script that's all over the place and totally bananas, and then if an artist brings it to life visually, because that's the star, you've got a comic that the reader appreciates as this cohesive thing. It's very hard to break as the writer from that standpoint. So I'm a pretty plot forward writer. That's sort of my leaning. I feel like as long as you understand what the characters want and you give them cool stuff to do, the rest kind of just follows that. The dialogue, chemistry, all these moments will just happen if you have a plan in place. It's a little like planning a trip or something with your friends. It's you get the right group of people, you get the right destination, everything else kind of works out along the way, and then you'll have some surprises as you work through it. So for me, it was just pure fun. You just kick it. You just you try not to get stressed out about the minutia. You try to get from point A to point B to point C, and you try to just actually enjoy it and be present through the process and communicate. And this was just a joy to work on. I have no some projects they're not this scale. They're not a huge audience. This book's sales were out of sight. It was the biggest book I've ever worked on, and it's just been groovy, man. Super fun.
I can't even imagine that sounds like so much fun. I'm a little jealous, more than a little jealous. As a writer, I got so many questions. So anchoring a story that's going to be a crossover, that's going to be a multi-universe thing, you've got to set up how the universes work together, you've got to set up where it is in the chronology of all the individual players, and then create a story that fits, like you said, with the characters' motivations, with where they are. How did you determine, or how did everyone come together to determine where in the sort of timeline, I guess, for the, I guess Naruto more than for the Turtles?
Well, initially, I was leaning more toward, I guess, the second act of Naruto, where Team 7, Sasuke's off doing something else, because I thought, I don't know, Rock Lee is kind of a good foil for, a guy like Mikey, and, because, and so you're doing, the fan thing, where you're, playing with the action figures, and you're this, but there's always a version where it's just, core Team 7, kind of this new presentation of the Turtles, it's the Turtles, but they're in Naruto's world. And fortunately, there's been so many great crossovers in the past to look at and go, oh, here's how they did it. There's great examples. One of my favorite crossovers is RoboCop versus Terminator. And it's just, they're in the same world.
Right.
You don't need to explain it. And so then you have a fun story. You don't have to do the thing, which sometimes can work great. And I've loved it in other media that have done it well. But, the Technodrome generates a portal and they drive through Dimension X and they get to Naruto's world. And, I just that's a lot of stuff to set up. Maybe if this was a 20-issue series. But you got 4 issues. You want to get in there, delight people, and yourself, and give the fans and your the creative team all something to be positive and happy about. Sometimes simplicity is the name of the game, and when you do that, you can focus on the character moments and everything else, and just when you're able to like do that and take away the minutia and like sort of like whatever your fan fiction brain wants to kind of do. No offense to fan fiction, it's wonderful, but like I would break it if I did that. So you just focus, you keep your eye on the prize, and you end up with like a book that's really accessible, and it's the characters, and it's rad.
Were there moments that as you were writing, you're like, I hope people get super excited when they see this?
You know, my mental approach is like, I'm doing air quotes, this is an audio interview. As a professional, air quotes, you're trying to make your editor happy. Because like at the end of the day, that's who's hiring you. You want to do more stuff for that publisher maybe. You want to have a good relationship with the IP holders. Like you really want to like lock that in and do a good job from that perspective. But then as like, you know, a pure fan, you want to make yourself happy. But I think the best thing to do, and like the original editor of like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, like he just wrote a book, and it's all about please the reader. Like that's your job if you're making comics or manga or whatever. And so that's something that I try to like remember. Like what's going to make the readers happy? And sometimes that's surprising them, shocking them. But for the way that this was set up, it's like, oh, they should like be friends and fight bad guys together. Like that's a good time, and I think people just like vibed off that. So happy that we hopefully got there for everybody.
Sounds like it helps that you were a fan to go into it, so you knew exactly what the readers would want.
I don't know exactly what everybody wants. You know, you go to an anime convention or something, you see all the different cosplay, and like you hear people online, and like every little thing, like sometimes it's not just anime, it's like any fandom, like stuff will set people off, and they're like, you know, but and you know, Naruto's really a continuity heavy independent series with like a ton of ancillary media and movies and video games and
perfect fans.
Yeah, so you just try to keep it together and make it fun.
So you worked for Toa before, so you know like certain characters have certain rules, like no-nos that you can't have.
Yeah,
you know,
brand guidelines.
Can't. Yeah. So were you given any specific? Because this is, if I understand correctly, this is the first time that a Western writer has worked on this particular IP. Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many Naruto things, like some of the video games, and you know, the people that work on like the dubs and localizing that, they're writing, you know, so like I want to give those people props too. But I think maybe I'm like, as far as I know, yeah, I think I'm the first like dude who's like written a Naruto comic in this way in the West.
Were they protected because of that, or?
Sometimes like when you work on an IP, like they'll send you a PDF and it's got the brand guidelines. So like there's some good ones out there for some of the characters I've written, and you know, you kind of understand stuff to begin with, but like those brand guidelines documents, they're a lot of fun because like usually they're like in good faith, and they're usually made for like licensing. Mm-hmm. So like if you make a T-shirt with this character, don't make them have a surfboard and a cigarette. You know, like don't do weird stuff. And it's funny, like you see it in the document, like this is a good time. For Naruto, they gave me a lot of trust. You know, like we had some good calls. It wasn't about what not to do. It was just like, do you care about Naruto? And it's like, yeah. Love it, you know, and I'm really lucky I had a background that just showed I had kind of worked in the anime industry a little bit, like, and I'd been publishing and like worked on a bunch of other IP, you know, and effectively like Japanese IP. So there was just a lot of trust put in me, and I owe a lot of that to my editor for like front loading that trust in those relationships, and it was a great project.
I think if there's something to be said for like getting to play with your toys and then create your own story, this would be kind of the one that would be most fun to probably do it too, because you have.
I can't off the top of my head. I mean, there's tons of other like crossover opportunities. The Turtles are always crossing over. Like Godzilla Turtles was just announced this morning, and I was like, man, this is the best. You know.
What an age we live in.
Oh, I know, but you know, as far as I never imagined I would get to work on a Naruto thing, like period, other than like marketing materials or something like. So it's a dream. I don't know, like if nothing's probably ever gonna top it. It'll just be like as cool, you know. So I feel really like lucky and humbled by the experience.
That's great. I hope you're wrong about that, just because I hope they were always going towards, more and more exciting things. And
hey, I mean, I'm here for all of it, and I'm glad the fans keep showing up for it, and it's been a great source of optimism in my life to see how this went.
I don't want to overtake too much time, but do you know how many more minutes or questions I have?
We're kind of done.
Oh,
but because
totally.
I've got people holding,
of course.
because they've got to set up. We could finish up in the hallway if you wanted to.
No, I don't want to take too much of your time. I have my 3 cheesy questions I always ask.
Then ask the cheesy
My
questions.
3 cheesy questions are:
Please.
What was your favorite part about the project?
All of it, but seeing the pages come in, seeing the art for the first time, that always gives you goosebumps.
I can imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there particular writers or stories that either you drew upon either for this or just sort of like in a grandiose scale, a particular author that really influences your voice or story?
I mean, I've got, the Akira collection on my shelf. I don't own a lot of stuff in print anymore because I moved around a lot and lived tiny spots. But so the stuff I keep in print is Dragon Ball, Akira, and all my Turtles hardcovers. So
keeping the hardcovers definitely speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Pun intended. Okay, last cheesy question is: what was the first comic that you remember either buying or that got you hooked?
Got me hooked. You read a lot of stuff growing up, like the Sunday Funnies and that kind of thing. But my dad got me an issue of Sonic the Hedgehog #1, and he brought it back from like a Sega pop-up in like a business trip he went on. And I started drawing Sonic comics like nonstop in like 2nd grade. And same thing with Turtles, but like that was definitely when I was like, I guess I'm a comic book artist now. Like this is what my life is going to be like. And it's weird to think about sometimes because like I've gotten to work on Sonic and some other things. I'm just like, oh, I got exactly what I wished for as a child. And then you're like, I should have wished for like $10 million too. Because like somebody answered all of my wishes. I should have wished for like a little more.
Never be done, never be done wishing, and I hope that they never stop coming true, man.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well,